I'm trying to pursue my passions, but are my passions pursuing me back? That's a negatory. It's a no. And so I'm really just pondering and asking myself, what are you doing with your life? Hey everyone, and welcome in. My name is Tolu, and on this channel I make faith-based videos to encourage you as you fight the good fight of the faith daily. For today's video, I basically just wanted to come on here and encourage anyone that might be in the same position as me, might be in the same season of life as me right now, in that, there's a lot of transitions happening and you can't quite clearly see what's coming next. But you still have faith, you still have hope, and you're just taking it day by day, okay? I don't know if there's something in the air, but I feel like I know a lot of people right now that are in a type of transitional season, whether it be they just quit their job, they just got fired and are looking for a new job, whether it be they're thinking about moving to a new city, a new state, a new country, new relationship, you name it. I just feel like there's a lot of people in my life that are in a season of transition right now. And I don't know if we're gonna blame it on COVID, just coming out of COVID. I don't know what it is, but there's something in the air and I'm feeling it, I'm going through it, I'm in the thick of it right now. I feel like for the past couple of weeks, there actually hasn't been a day where I haven't just stopped and asked myself, like, what are you doing with your life? Like, what are you doing, I personally am in a season where there's a lot of moving parts. I'm currently moving out of this apartment. My lease is up at the end of August. As y'all know, I quit my job a couple months ago. Do I have another one lined up? No. I'm trying to pursue my passions, but are my passions pursuing me back? That's a negatory. It's a no. And so I'm really just pondering and asking myself, what are you doing with your life? I feel like when we're going through seasons like this, of ambiguity and uncertainty and transition, I feel like we become really susceptible to the lies of the enemy, and all of a sudden our self-doubt has increased exponentially. We're doubting ourselves, we're doubting our capabilities. For me personally, I start questioning, like, did I really, hear that from God? Did God actually tell me to do that? Or was that just me? And I was actually having a talk with my friend last week, and we're both in a very transitional season right now, and we're kind of just like, is it our fault that we ended up here? Is it because we were disobedient along the way? Like, did we not follow the plan the way it was supposed to go? You know what I'm saying? And I really had to stop us and be like, you know what? We're not perfect. And yes, we might mess up along the way, but there's never a place that we're gonna go that God is not with us. And there's never a situation that is not able to be redeemed by God. Especially, if we are desiring to be in His will, stay in His will, and asking that is, what He would do in our lives. Like, He can always redeem the situation. He can always redirect us. And so I really had to steer us away from, starting to go down a hole of like, oh my gosh, like, did we just mess everything up? Can God make this situation work? The answer is yes. And He can really turn it around for our good and for His glory, as He always does. I'm really trying to navigate this season a lot differently because, it's not the first time that I've had seasons of uncertainty, seasons of ambiguity. It's really not. But in the past, I feel like even though I would say I trust God, I would still be anxious and worried about like, okay, God, but like when? And I would still try to have my hand in it, still try to be controlling the situation in some way. And this time around, I want to navigate things differently, I was reminded of a story in the Bible, which y'all might be familiar of. It's when Jesus feeds the multitude, and it's found in Mark chapter 6. And essentially, Jesus is with His disciples, and a large crowd gathers around them. And the disciples are saying, Jesus, send these people away so that they can go and get food. But, Jesus, He has compassion on the people. He wants to feed them Himself. He's like, you guys feed them. The disciples are all looking at Him crazy, like, what do you mean you guys, like, how are we supposed to feed all of these people? But this is what Jesus says. He says, how many loaves do you have? Go and see. They say they have 5 loaves and 2 fish. And then it says in verse 39, it says, "Then he commanded them to all sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups by hundreds and by fifties. And taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples to set before the people." Now, if y'all are familiar with the story, you know that these 5 loaves and 2 fish were able to spread and feed 4,000 people. And not just that, it says that they took up 12 baskets full of broken pieces of bread and of the fish. So the disciples are literally witnessing Jesus performing a miracle right before their eyes. They see how he was able to take a little bit and abundantly multiply it, to feed thousands of people, right? They were in a very ambiguous situation. They didn't really know how it was all going to work out, but God turned it around in the split of a second, okay? That to me, I'm like, okay, y'all saw he can do that. You should have no doubts in the future that he could do it again, right? Obviously. But what's really crazy is that just 2 chapters later, in chapter 8, the same exact thing happens again, okay? Jesus is with his disciples, there's a large crowd, and Jesus tells them, we gotta feed these people. And the disciples are again like, how can one feed these people with bread here in this desolate place? I'm like, are y'all really still asking the same questions even after you've seen what Jesus can do, after you've seen how he can multiply? And yet, he literally just did it 1.5 chapters ago. And yet Jesus is so gracious and he performs the same exact miracle again, feeding the 4,000, and they took up 7 baskets full of leftovers. So I'm like, how quickly the disciples forget. And this time around, as I'm in this season of transition and ambiguity, I've determined I don't want to forget. I've seen God lead me through seasons like this in the past, and right now is no different. He could do it again. I know that. One phrase that I have really held, near and dear to my heart and have always held fast to, especially in seasons like this, is that I don't know where I'm going, but I know God is leading, okay? And if God is in the lead, I'm good. There's literally nothing to worry about, okay? And so that's how I'm trying to navigate this season. I'm really trying my best. And for anyone who might be in a similar, situation, a similar season as me right now, I want to share 4 things that I've been doing, 4 things that you can be doing, in this season of waiting on the Lord to get through a very ambiguous period in your life, okay? The first thing is found in Matthew chapter 6, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this verse. Chapter 6, verse 33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." Y'all, I feel like this section in chapter 6, starting from verse 25 to 34, I feel like this whole section is meant for seasons of transition, uncertainty, ambiguity. When we're wondering what's gonna come tomorrow, what am I gonna eat, what am I gonna wear, what's happening next month? God is basically saying, don't be anxious about all of that. Don't worry about what you're gonna wear, what you're gonna eat. Keep your eyes on me, keep seeking me and my kingdom, and I'm taking care of all of that, So I've been trying to make sure that that is the number one thing I'm focusing on, seeking God first and his kingdom. And I trust that, when he says everything else will be added to me, he means that. The second way that I want to encourage you to wait on the Lord in this season is found in Psalms chapter 37. It says in verse 5, it says, "Commit your way to the Lord, trust in him, and he will act." And then verse 7, it says, "Be still before the Lord and wait patiently for him." And so combining these verses, I really just want to encourage y'all to do what it says in chapter 5, which is commit your way to the Lord, pray about it, submit it to him, and then let it go, okay? Release hold of it, release control of it, and wait patiently before God. Every single time, I don't know how he's gonna do it, but he does it. He does it. And even now, mark my words, I know I'm gonna have a testimony for you guys. And I know you're gonna have a testimony too, okay? So that brings me to my next point, which would be to walk and talk in faith, okay? Y'all, when people ask you what's going on in your life, what's happening, what are you doing, especially people that know that you're in a season of ambiguity, let that be an opportunity where you can proclaim your faith. Even if it's just oh, I don't really know exactly, but I know God's working on it, I'll get back to you once God does what he needs to do. Let's just start speaking in faith. I was watching a sermon from Transformation Church, I think, last year, and Pastor Todd gave a message basically saying like, heaven responds to talks of faith. That's what gets the attention of heaven, and that's what they respond to. So let's let the words that we're saying, let's let our conversation be full of faith and walk confidently, knowing that God is doing what he needs to do, okay? And lastly, the fourth thing I want to encourage you to do in this season is not let the devil steal your joy. The devil knows that these kind of seasons that are full of uncertainty and ambiguity can make someone feel really down and sad and confused, but we cannot let him get any satisfaction from us in this season, okay? There's really no point because we already know God's gonna do it. And so in this season, there's no point in sulking. There's no point in being sad about it. Like for me personally, I make it a habit. I make it a point to make sure I'm praising God every day because I know that's gonna make the enemy upset, you know, seeing me happy and praising the Lord when I have no idea what's going on with my life, you know, but I'm gonna continue to do it. And so please keep your head up, please stay encouraged, and know that God has already went before you. He's already made the way for you. And while we can't see it right now and it's looking very hazy, it will soon all become very clear, okay? I hope this video encouraged you as you are going through your own season of transition and uncertainty, and just know that you are not going through it alone. Myself and so many others right now are going through seasons like this, and we will get through it, okay? It really blows my mind thinking about how God has such an intimate grasp on each and every one of our situations and is intricately working things together, not only for our good, but for his glory. So I'm really excited to see how my situation will unfold, and I'm really excited to hear how y'all's situation unfolds as well. Let me know in the comments down below, are you currently in a season of uncertainty, of transition? And if so, what area of your life is going through it right now? Or is it all of them, like mine? Because that's okay too. And until next time, let's keep fighting the good fight of the faith, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.